How's it going? It's great to be back. Today I want to share with you just a little bit of information about the crystal Carillon that is actual in the exact same measures because of the micrometers that I used in collections of antiquities and arcane objects. As most of you know about me, I went all over the world. I went to dozens of countries. I lived amongst cultures that are off the grid. I wanted to find out what it was they were doing to be healthy and disease-free and long-lived the way that they were. At the time, I went to what is now, because of division of countries, over 60 countries. I have millions of air miles, been on cruise lines, been on all kinds of stuff, looking for different things. I kept coming across in different collections, from the Myers collection to the British Museum, the Collections Nationales in France, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. And every collector that had one of these on their shelves and protected in the cabinets, and no one was allowed to touch them, they didn't really know what they were for. They didn't know why different cultures had them, from the Inca to parts of India. Egypt had the most amount that they've ever actually found, buried in cities under the sand that were uncovered, in the pyramids, in the tombs of the pharaohs sitting right next to them. And they believed, clear up until about 30 years ago, that these were just wine and punch bowls, because the scientific investigation of the residues in the crystal that dates back several thousand years when the thing was made by artisans and rock cutters with a permission given and granted from the pharaohs and different groups back then. They found residues of dried wine, so they believed that it was a wine bowl. As I dug into it further, clear back in the early 1970s, I finally discovered that it was a healing instrument. And today, my crystal bowl is used at Cornell Medical and by some of the doctors at Johns Hopkins and LA Port, and even in different countries of the world. Originally, I was going to put these into all the hospitals with the assistance of Dr. Mitchell Gaynor, who's one of the leading oncologists and director of the New York Strang Cancer Clinic. He's a molecular biologist and hematologist at Cornell. He and I have been on stage together. He uses this to help stage 3 and stage 4 cancer patients to go into remission. If they're willing to change their diet to a whole food diet, no pills, no capsules, no supplements, no medications, no treatments of any kind, and eat whole foods, and even take some of those whole foods, put them inside the bowl the way they used to do with wine and foods anciently, and play with a cohesive, triangulated vibration that comes off of this thing, which you'll experience here in a moment on this video. It won't be the same because analog and digital recording of this thing and trying to bring it back, it still works to a degree, but there's something lost. You actually have to have the resonance in the three-dimensional physical reality of the presence of this thing for it to take any cells in the body that are in chaos and to bring them out of chaos and back into full functional capacity, and that's what this does. They have studied this at Cornell Medical in the science departments there, and they know that it works. They're trying to investigate why it works. They just see the results of the fact that it works. When I came across these and found out what it was, I went to New York City, went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, got a hold of the curator who I'd met before, and I told him that it was a vibrational healing instrument. It was a musical instrument, and that I would prove it to him if he would take it out of the cabinet and let me tap 3 times in a triangulated pattern the way they did in the ancient world, according to ancient hieroglyphs, petroglyphs, and even some of the ideograms within the Occidental countries that I've been to where these things exist. And they said, no, you can't do that. I finally got permission to use micrometers and to be able to just do the measures. Then I went to the collection at Myers and the British Museum and did the same thing just to make sure. And they were exactly the same. The artisans knew what they were doing. In the ancient world, whenever a large crystal, quartz crystal, was found just laying on the earth, and they have them in the Smithsonian collections in Washington, D.C. 12 of the 13 Smithsonian collections is right there in the Baltimore area. If you go into the gemstone and rock collections, you'll see quartz crystals that they found just laying on the ground. And those things are anywhere from 12 to 16 feet thick, and they have them up on long running counters and tables, upwards of 30 and 40 feet long. The crystals are that big. Not sure if you saw the article in National Geographic. I'm going to find it. I'll have my son throw it up onto the website. I want you to see this article. It's where they found a cave down under the ground, and it's filled with gigantic quartz crystals. And as the researchers go down into there, they have to wear astronaut protective suits because the heat from the crystals is so intense, it burns them. They can only stay in there minutes before they have to leave. And that's the intensity and the power of these things. A friend of mine, an acquaintance from a long time ago, Marcel Vogel with IBM, received thousands of dollars from IBM to study the capacitance and functions for technologies from quartz crystal. They were able to identify and define and even tap into and use over 16 performances of this. Tesla and Marconi and even Farnsworth later, who brought us television, an Idaho dirt potato farmer, Tesla had discovered the capacitance of quartz crystal to take sound and transmit it through the air, and then have another crystal hundreds of miles away be able to pick up the vibrational tone of that sound that was made, amplify it so that human ears could hear it. And that led to the development of radio. Crystal radio sets were popular when I was a kid, but now it's gone further than that as they've unlocked new levels of capacitance with Marcel Vogel and his team. But this all comes down to the simplicity of this design is based on the shape of a duck egg that was very popular along the river banks of the Nile in Egypt, and even down near Machu Picchu in Peru along the Andes Mountains. The same kind of duck egg. They cut the crystals in the shape of an egg and then cut it in half and then hollowed it out because they knew there was something in the geometric patterns of an egg. When you look at an egg and say even boil it and take the shell off and slice it, you see inside the yolk. This egg here is in the exact geometric patterns of that duck egg, which was considered so sacred to the ancient cultures. You look in here and you see a floating yolk or crystal ball. In antiquity, certain cultures called that the eidolon. E-I-D-O-L-O-N, the eidolon. It literally means that which can be seen by the physical eye, but does not exist in three-dimensional physics. A rainbow, to the ancient mind, was an eidolon. You can look and you can see the rainbow, but it doesn't exist in physical form that we can sense and touch. You can chase rainbows all day, and you're not going to be able to catch them. They move because it's a refraction and a reflection principle of light. This crystal bowl, because of the way that it's shaped by the brilliant artisans of the ancient past in a replication of a duck egg, reflection and refraction creates the yolk inside, the eidolon. You can actually see it. We've actually had little kids come up and reach in and try to grab it, and it blows them away when it's not there. They're like, what? And they keep trying to grab. It's really fun. But I've written about this in the Pharmacist Desk Reference, Volume 1, under the white crystal Carillon. And you can read the history, the use, the methods of performance in remissing so many different kinds of discomforts and diseases in the human body. With that said, I would just like to be able to have you listen to, in digital format, the sound of this bowl. When it's first made, and it was the most beautiful experience, I went to Mitsubishi Corporation, who had a manufacturing facility, not in Japan. They actually built it in Oregon. Now they've since moved back to Japan and closed the facility. But I actually got the first quartz crystal druces out of White Pine, North Carolina. There's a mountain there with the purest crystal druces they've ever found on the face of the earth. They used to bring these crystal druces, or small particles of crystal, out of Madagascar until they found it in White Pine, North Carolina, which was just about an hour from where we were living. And so it was just really fun to help get the druces, put them in 55-gallon drums, ship them out to Mitsubishi. Later, Quartz Scientific and General Electric got involved in the process. They were using crystal druces and making flat-bottomed crucibles, because you can put in the correct mineral solutions into a crucible made out of quartz with a flat bottom, and it grows these boules, which are pillars, crystal pillars, will actually form and grow right up out of the flat bottom bowl. And when they hit about that height, they have to cut and break them out of the bowl. They smash the crucible up, throw it out back because they can't use it anymore. Then they take that boule, send it to the laser labs. They cut it into wafers. Once the quartz is cut into wafers, they ship it to the microchip laser technology departments. And the people there, using laser technologies and electron microscopes, cut and facet those little chips so that they can tap into the functional capacitance of that quartz. That's what makes cell phone works. There's a little chip of quartz crystal in your cell phone, which makes it so that you can speak and to talk to someone on the other side of the earth who can pick up the broadcast of and reception of your own voice, and it sounds the same when they receive it. It's in the computer technologies of the dashboards of automobiles. It's in television sets, and it's in so many things. But taking the ancient approach to these quartz and how they affect the human body and why they use this at Cornell Medical. In fact, you can go to free vibrational medicine healing classes at Cornell in the auditoriums. They do it twice a week for those who are really suffering and in need of healing and repair. This, when it's first made and comes out of the graphite molds, which are cut robotically to match this perfectly, they heat the quartz druces up to 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit, melts into a liquid form. They pour it into the graphite molds, and then, as it starts to cool, they break the graphite away so that it cools more quickly, and it goes through the full spectrum of the rainbow. Reds, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and it moves up and down the colors of the rainbow until it finally cools off to the color of the white crystal. One last point before I play it. Your body is approximately 70% water once you turn age 22. When you are first born, a baby's body is 97 to 98% water. The less water you have in your body, the faster you age and the shorter life you live. The most profound thing you can do is to have water in your body and to keep it there. The reason I mention water is that they have discovered that quartz crystal is fossilized water. When water gets trapped under the ground in the earth, it's the temperature of heat and the pressure and time that the water itself that is trapped fossilizes into quartz crystal. Water is liquid quartz crystal. And I've mentioned it before, and I'm saying it again. Today's scientists do not know what water is. They can evaporate it, and they notice that it has 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. So they call it the chemical name of H2O. But they can't mix 2 parts of hydrogen gas to 1 part oxygen and make 1 single drop of water. They have spent billions trying to figure out how can we make water. They can't. Quartz crystal, we know it's fossilized water, but we don't know why. It has the functional capacities to broadcast signals into outer space and through the solar system and back, and can be received and all of the other things. And the beautiful thing is, to receive the benefits of this, we don't have to understand it. You get all the nutrition of an apple simply by eating it. You don't have to know the names of the nutritional components. Just eat the apple. Same here. This, when it first comes out of the graphite molten and cools, plays the same note that can be measured in outer space at the space station. Every planet, because of its orbital spin and size and mass, plays a note of music. And today in physics they know that's true. It was originally Pythagoras who established the notes of all of the planets. And it's been confirmed he's right on the money. It's called music of the spheres. You have 10,000 trillion cells in your body. Those cells run on frequencies of light that radiate spectrums of light and make sound. And the beautiful thing about this bowl playing the same note that the earth does, G flat, F sharp, when it's first given birth and cools down, is that that note will change over time and distance, depending on who it is that's actually playing the bowl. And this has been measured and studied. But here it is. You tap the bowl in a triangle pattern. Then with the staff, and it's where a staff of music comes from, you play the bowl. During the process of playing, it's not the bowl that heals you. The triangulated cohesive energy that comes off, and you can put your hand right here and you can feel it go right through your flesh. In fact, it'll pass right through solid matter and go right outside. And you could record it out there if you have sensitive enough equipment. It actually permeates and goes right through the earth herself. But what's fascinating to me about this whole process, what heals you is your brain and pictures and thought with intention of what it is you want to bring out of chaos and heal. What the bowl does is it takes your feelings, your thoughts, your mental images, and amplifies the functional sound pattern of that some 1,000 times. And if you look into the eidolon, the yoke, with intention and thought and desire of what you want it to heal, and you play and you use your voice, what used to be called Adam's apple. Everyone's heard an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And that is true. It's just that most people won't eat an apple a day. But it's Adam's apple, the voice box, the trachea, the vocal cords, that when you play this and hum or tone, the sound here will take the frequency of your own voice, multiply it somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 times, and sends it all through your body. And you begin to feel the healing and the repair of this thing. We have people that have invested in these bowls because they want to be vibrational healers. You can read in the FDR how to get that done, the things you can do for people, and people will be willing to invest in you, in their health, for you having invested in this and blessing their lives in the principle of the return of science's understanding now of vibrational medicine from the ancient past. It's back. So here we go. and I want you to listen. As I stop playing, it'll keep making the sound for a period of time. We've taken this out on the salt flats in Utah years ago. We had one of my boys get out and play it while I got in my pickup truck and drove half mile away. We got out, turned off the engine, we could still hear it. We drove 1 mile away, got out, turned the engine off, we could still hear it. We could hear it close to 1.5 miles away. That is the power of the vibrational frequency of this. In some settings, with the acoustics in the building, if they're high enough, you can hear this play for upwards of 20 minutes after you've stopped playing. In the right setting, there are frequencies of sound that we don't hear that come through the walls of your home, and it'll actually ratchet it up, amplify it, and start playing all on its own. It's kind of scary if you don't know what's going on. You might think you have a ghost in the room. Who knows, maybe you do. That's the Crystal Carillon. I hope that you experience it. If you want to invest in one and have it for the blessing and the healing and the regeneration of yourself, your loved ones, and your friends, you can get it right here at DonTolman.com. Thank you.